Hi there. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this program, which is brought to you by Kensington, Chelsea, and Westminster Libraries. My name is Nina Rizzoli. I'm here to introduce to you our favorite Roman envoy, Olga Cuckovic, with a session this time on Italian cuisine. I hope you've had your dinner. If not, you'll probably enjoy your dinner after this event very much, because I'm sure it's going to make us all feel like having food. Olga has lived and worked in Rome for the past 30 years. She's got an MA in arts management and has worked as a tour guide of Vatican City and Rome and environs for all that time. So she's a pro. We've had her on many times. If you go over to her website, which you can see on the screen now, you'll see all of the events and talks that she's given for us, some brilliant things there. So it's with great pleasure that I'm asking Olga to come and join us. Hello, Olga.
Hello, Nina. Hello. It's been some time, but it's a great pleasure to be back with something.
Welcome. It's just to say, if you have any comments or questions throughout the session, please just post them in the Q&A and we'll look at them together at the end of the session. So, Olga, go ahead, tell us all about the Italian cuisine.
Well, then we're going to stay until tomorrow or maybe 3 months. Because all about Italian cuisine, that's what I've been trying to do, to squeeze into approximately 1 hour, maybe a little over, but approximately 1 hour of this presentation. And I will start with, well, whoever you ask around the world, what's their favorite cuisine, a huge amount of people will say Italian. And of course, there will be all pasta, pizza, gelato, mozzarella, prosciutto. See, all these wonderful things that are so typical for Italian cuisine. But Italy has about 20 regions, and they all have their regional specialties. And not just the regions, but also practically every village will tell you, oh, no, our pasta is better than theirs, or our biscotti are the best ones. So we'll start from somewhere. This is going to be a little bit of everything. I will have the most on Rome, because this is where I live, and also I will be using only my photographs because of the possible copyright issues. So I have eaten almost all that I'm going to show you. And now here on the thumbnail photo, you have those things that I mentioned already. Obviously, prosciutto. Pizza, that could be with just about anything on it. Just don't mention pineapple to Italians. They will not like the idea. They're very traditional. And sometimes they bring a little touch of something of nouvelle cuisine, but that's rare. They prefer tradition. And of course, mozzarella, that we all know about, and probably also know that mozzarella can be made of different kinds of milk, could be made with cow's milk or water buffalo milk. That's when it's the best. And that one has to be eaten very fresh, and it's difficult to export. You would have to use natural rennet, not artificial. And there's also a lot of influence of the climate and anything that's in the atmosphere that eventually contributes to the flavor of the food. So if you come to Italy, then try for mozzarella di bufala. Cow's mozzarella is also good, obviously. It comes from the verb mozzare, like to chop off. So that's why the name, but the kinds of milk can be different. But there will be a little bit of all of that, but I will start with the breakfast that in Italy, let me just start here, is something sweet. Now, light breakfast, usually Italians would have croissant or brioche, as they call it, croissant and coffee and cappuccino, which is not taken during the day. There is this, I'm always joking with people, there's cappuccino police after 11 a.m. And you're supposed to have cappuccino for breakfast, not after meal. People have actually forgotten the historical reason for that. Although nutritionally, it makes sense not to have milk after either tomatoes or wine. But when the cows were milked, then in the hotter climate in the south especially, the milk would go bad very soon during the day. So it wasn't taken fresh, it was churned to make different kinds of cheeses, butter, but that is historically the reason. But again, nutritionally also makes sense. And what do we have here? This is a breakfast I had a couple of clients that were doing the food tour, and these were on the left. So I'm showing with the cursor. This is maritozzo. It's a typical Roman dish, although there are other regions of Italy that may have their own version. But maritozzo is really famous in Rome. It's like a sweet bun with whipped cream. Oh, it's absolutely delicious. And these other cakes, there's a sfogliatelle, which are Napolitan. Napolitan famous sfogliatella. If you go there, that will be the first thing you have to grab either, well, at the airport, maybe not, but maybe, why not? I'm not sure how good it could be at the bar at the airport, but at the railway station, definitely. So these are three most important, most famous, maritozzo for Rome, which is not so famous outside of Rome. Then in the middle, cannolo siciliano, Sicilian cannolo with ricotta. We usually say ricotta cheese, although it's not really the cheese, it's like a subproduct of churning the milk. And sfogliatella, which I mentioned earlier. And when you go to Italian, they call them bar, as if they were like nightclubs, but no, they're cafes. And this would be a typical start of the day. And a little later, you can already find, you see here at the bottom to the right, these are croissants or brioche that have become like little sandwiches with ham and usually rughetta or rugola, arugula, that is very popular in Italy. So it can combine a little bit of sweet and sour. And different kinds of coffee. You can have here cappuccino, coffee espresso, just a shot of espresso. And this is a variety that they call Marocchino, as if he came from Morocco. This is a little, creamy milk foam with coffee and a cocoa powder. They don't have Starbucks variety, but they have their traditional things. And this is granita di caffè, crushed ice with coffee and whipped cream. Again, that's very popular. Granita can be with a lot of things. A lot of the places, they're in Sicily, in Rome. We have these crushed ice with the fruit essences, syrups, very, very popular in the summer. So you go out for breakfast. Italians find their cafes like that, and frequently they do what they call colazione al bar, so the breakfast at the cafe. And that's not so typical for other countries that I've been to, but this is what you would find, all these lovely sweet things, no omelets or bacon, or that's just not their thing. And this is one of my dearest memories from Sicily. This was a croissant filled with pistachio cream. If you wonder about the pronunciation of pistachio, it is pistachio because Chianti, pistachio, just think of Chianti. It's CH in front of I or E. It's actually chi or che. So pistachio, but you can pronounce it as you like, whatever makes you happy. And this is in Naples. I don't know how people survive this in Naples. This is a very, very famous cafe down in next to the San Carlo Gambrinus, next to San Carlo Opera House. And they have these beignets with egg cream. And then at the bottom to the right, this is baba. That's again sweet dough dipped in rum. It could be other things, could be limoncello, could be, let's see here, the whipped cream and strawberries in the middle. And Neapolitans take everything very seriously, including baba. When I go to Naples, it's just so burst with joy. And il babà è una cosa seria. Babà is a serious thing. So they take it very, very seriously. But now we've had our little sweet breakfast, and we would like to have lunch. And how do Italians divide their lunch or dinner? Starting with antipasti. Of course, rarely people eat all of that, but these are the possibilities. And an important dinner would start with antipasti, which is appetizers that you see here on the left. And we are obviously in Rome because there is fiore di zucca, zucchini flower, filetto di baccalà. I'm going to show you these things, or carciofo alla giudia, Jewish artichoke, polpetta di bollito, boiled meat made into meatball and then fried, deep fried dishes, and suppli al this is Roman dialect, ar telefono, because older generation will remember the actual telephone with the wire. So suppli, which is fried rice ball, contains a bit of mozzarella in it. So when you bite it and then get away with your head, then it has like a wire melted mozzarella al telefono. So these are just some of the possibilities for antipasti. I'll show you other ones. And then how Italians divide the meal: primi piatti, secondi piatti. So firsts and seconds, where the firsts would be different varieties of pasta. Or risotto could also be a rice meal, could also be a primo. And here you see spaghetti, tonnarello, bucatini, fettuccine. So all different kinds of shapes of pasta. In Italy, you have about 600 kinds of pasta shapes. And every region, every village will tell you their shape is the best. And it only goes with this sauce or that sauce. So they will be very, very adamant about that. And then secondi piatti. That will be practically the main course, and that's usually meat. And here involtini, polpette, straccetti, that's veal or beef. Scamorza is a kind of cheese, al forno, in the oven, so it's melted big chunk of cheese. And contorni, side dishes. Cicoria is very typical. A lot of the cuisine that now is very fancy was actually originally poor cuisine. Chicory is just a plant that grows around in the fields and people used to go. So how do you used to pick it? And they still do. Cicoria is boiled first and then ripassata in a pan with olive oil, garlic, and chili pepper, which gives it really a lovely flavor. And patatine, carciofi are the kings of Roman cuisine, artichokes. And then what they do, piatto del giorno. So you're best ordering piatto del giorno, so the meal of the day. Trippa alla romana, tripe, and broccoletti ripassati. Broccoletti, I'll show you. Broccoletti romani, I'll show you how they look like. So this is now Roman, but you would have the same division, just different kinds of dishes in different Italian regions. And bruschetta, again, the CH in front of I or E, bruschetta, is toasted bread with usually tomatoes, basil, but it could be just about anything. For example, here, this is a liver pate that you see on the left, which would be typically Tuscan liver pate. And this is also bruschetta with the lard. Lard comes from northern Tuscany, especially when it comes from the town called Colonnata, where there are the marble quarries. And we always love to think that Michelangelo ate a lot of lard when he was picking the right pieces of marble for his statues. It's served with a little honey, and it is delicious. Of course, you don't eat a lot of it unless you want to, but it is a great little appetizer. And very, very popular in Rome are the fiori di zucca, zucchini flowers, and they are stuffed with mozzarella cheese. and anchovy. There's a lot of anchovies in Roman cuisine, and also especially in the Jewish ghetto, where there are great restaurants, and there's a lot of anchovies also because that was a cheap fish that people could afford. So zucchini flour stuffed with mozzarella, anchovy, and deep fried. It usually is combined with something else. In this case, this is a deep fried meatball, and very popular in Rome, filetti di baccalà. Baccalà is salt cod and deep fried, and it is really, really delicious. It is now has become very popular as street food as well. But again, ask the locals, because a lot of the places offer things, but always ask the locals where to go. Although, of course, the best food is never in the strict center of a place that's full of tourists. You know, you have to go slightly outside, but there are still little temples of cuisine that the locals will be willing to share with you. Very famous parmigiana. Parmigiana, there's no such thing as chicken parmigiana or anything else. There's parmigiana, punto, or period. So you fried eggplant slices, and then there's mozzarella and tomato sauce. That's a great meal. And I got to carciofi, the artichokes. There are different varieties. This is a carciofo romano, Roman artichoke, and then there are, again, other varieties, and they may be in season in different times of the year. That's why it's very confusing. But if you go to the Jewish ghetto, which is famous for the artichoke Jewish style, they will have it all year long, because there's no time of the year when people don't want Jewish artichoke. I'll show you the difference between Roman and Jewish. This is Jewish style, and it's absolutely delicious. They have to be in season for the best variety, because otherwise you get a little hair in the middle. But you can eat everything here, like the leaves you eat like chips. It's extraordinary. And this is carciofo alla Giudea, so Jewish and Roman style, which is put in the oven with olive oil and water and mint and garlic. So you can have either, but a lot of people who come back to Rome says, I have to go to carciofo alla Giudea, Jewish artichoke. Now, antipasti could be just about anything. This is a restaurant in Rome that I'm always happy to recommend because they're specialized in antipasti, in appetizers. And you see, there's a little bit of, and there's fennel, there's artichoke, there's meatballs even here on the left. You can see the meatballs, olives, cauliflower with capers, different kinds of salami, mozzarella, cabbage, eggplants, and you just can enjoy antipasti and have nothing else. You may, of course. Now, it's not just about prosciutto and salami. There's, again, every region would have specialties. Like this is from a restaurant. It's called Toscana, Colline Emiliane, sorry, from Reggio Emilia. They're absolutely amazing. And like, for example, this salami here at the bottom, that's Cullatello di Zibello. It's from Parma. It's not prosciutto di Parma. It's the leg of the pork, but stuffed into the bladder. I know the vegetarians may not be happy in places like that, but there are varieties of everything. Salami, again, also wild boar salami is typical for Tuscany. There's a lot of wild boar. And cinta senese, which is a black pig with white belt. I used to call it like karate pig when I used to do tours in Tuscany. So you can expect varieties, additions, a little bit of truffles or just about anything, fennel seeds. And prosciutto is the king, and especially if it's from Parma. Again, because these pigs are grazing certain fields, and there's certain kind of wind, and the process of curing prosciutto di Parma. There's also San Daniele, there's different kinds of prosciutto. What is actually the best, at least I like it so much, is the prosciutto di montagna, so from the mountains, and then they don't cut it in some specialized groceries, not everywhere. They cut it by hand, and it makes a difference. So everything that's good does make a difference. Mortadella, you may have heard about mortadella, which is a bowl from Bologna. Again, Bologna is like the place for the meat. Here it's served with some stracciatella, which is also how they call in Italy a variety of gelato with the chocolate chips, stracciatella. Absolutely delicious. Sometimes you can see olives added to the mortadella, but the real one would have the pepper, as you can see here. And this was in Bologna not long ago. It's really the temple of Italian food, but again, not a happy place for the vegetarians. If you are in Rome or around Rome, especially south of Rome, there's porchetta. Porchetta is pork cured, and can have a sandwich. This is how it looks like when it's towards the end of that big chunk. And this would be a lovely little antipasto or aperitivo, more so aperitif, with different kinds of salami, toasted bread, with maybe pate liver or olive pate, and some vegetables, cheese. Cheese is frequently served with the pears, for example. That's a great combination, a slice of a hard pear and a slice of aged cheese. That's really wonderful. A wonderful combination. Of course, there are many varieties of bread, although Italy is not famous for bread. For example, in Tuscany and Umbria, the bread is not salted at all. There are little legends like that was the people refusing to put salt when the Pope, who had monopoly on the trade of salt, which was precious, raised the taxes on salt. So to protest these poor peasants, because poor people were peasants, sharecroppers, they refused to put salt. But also they say, well, actually unsalted bread goes wonderfully with all those strong salamis and cheeses, which in a way is true. Italians do a lot of things that maybe have a historical explanation, but eventually they somehow are right in how they combine things. So just trust them, just go with what they put on your table. And you can also start with something lighter. Here at the bottom is beef, dried beef called bresaola. It's similar to prosciutto in a way, but it's stronger, there's no white. And with arugula or rughetta and a little shredded Parmesan. Usually Parmesan is the king of the cheeses. And when it's aged more than 36 months, it's 36 months or so, doesn't have lactoses. So people who are intolerant can have very much aged Parmigiano, but if you have lactose intolerance, then there is a cheese which from the start doesn't have it. It's called Grana Padano, and it doesn't bother people with an intolerance to lactose, but Parmesan is the most famous. And mozzarella is so frequently combined with tomatoes and basil. That's the combination, almost like the color of Italian flag. The pizza margherita, invented for Queen Margherita in Naples, was the combination of these colors, the color of Italian flag. That's why the pizza is called margherita. And again, the best one that oozes milk is from the buffalo milk, and it's not light. There's nothing light about mozzarella. Why does buffalo milk taste better? Well, because it contains a lot of fat. That's it. No philosophy about that. Sicilian antipasto caponata, a summer dish because it's like with the summer vegetables, melanzane, eggplants, and the celery, and then pine nuts that you can find in the wherever there are the pine trees, stone pines. So caponata is a typical Sicilian antipasto. A lot of places, especially in Veneto, but also along the coast, would have deep fried seafood, calamari, squid and shrimp, or deep fried vegetables. This is typical for Roman appetizers. Again, deep frying feeds the family. You can have less ingredients, but if you deep fry them, people don't have to eat that much. So the cuisine depends a lot on how wealthy or poor the people are. The porcini mushrooms, they are in season in the fall, but there is some variety of summer porcini that comes from Spain, from what I know. And it's very popular, either like grilled like that or with pasta. Porcini are precious and expensive, but of course they're delicious. Now, Italians, as I mentioned, have a lot of these little rules. And I took this picture in the restaurant where I went with friends recently. And you can see at the bottom, they just don't like these common places. We don't serve spaghetti with meatballs because it's spaghetti and then the meatballs. Primi, secondi, remember, pasta and then the meat. And spaghetti with meatballs are Italian-American cuisine where the two things were combined. Fettuccine Alfredo style is also something that's very popular in US, but there are only 2 restaurants in Rome that actually serve them. And the other one that's not Alfredo doesn't call them like that because they claim that they alla scrofa, Alfredo alla scrofa. They serve this recipe, which is not something Italians would normally order. Fettuccine bolognese. Many restaurants do serve pasta alla bolognese, but here they're joking actually, it's go to Bologna. We are in Rome. You have to have different things in Rome. I'll show you which ones. And they don't serve lasagna and cappuccino because no, they will refuse. And they don't even have the machine to make the foam for cappuccino in the restaurants. So either you have espresso, you can ask for a decaf if caffeine is bothering you during the day. So this is typical Roman cacio and pepe. And you don't just have to twist it and twirl it, but mix it up, scoop it up, because the pecorino cheese, the sheep cheese melts and it's all at the bottom of your plate and your pasta is dry at the top. So you have to scoop it up and bring the moist up. But if you're cooking it and it's too dry, don't add anything oily. Just keep a little bit of the water in which the pasta cooked on the side, and that's how you give it the moist. And this is something you learn how to do after living for a while in Italy, like twist and twirl. God forbid you break the pasta. No, it's not done like that. And if people have guests that are not Italian, they would usually serve short kinds of pasta, short shape, because it's easier to handle. This is carbonara. Now, if you add to your cacio and pepe guanciale is a pig cheek. A lot of Roman cuisine is based on what was known as the quinto quarto, so animal divided in 4 parts, but then what remains is the 5th quarter. And the parts of animal that would have been thrown away, the cheek has become staple food in Roman cuisine. You'll find it everywhere. Guanciale, and you can also add tomatoes. You have amatriciana, typical Roman, with pecorino cheese on top without guanciale here. And spaghetti alle vongole. This is a very, very popular thing in Italy, especially in Rome, and relatively close to the sea or of the sea. Here it's sprinkled with bottarga. Bottarga are dried fish eggs, either tuna or mullet. And this is also bottarga, mullet bottarga, that you have to grate. Sometimes you can find it in little bags. It's very, very strong flavor, and you can add it if you really like seafood, and that is great. If not, no, don't try bottarga. And also for the seafood lovers, what do Italians do with sea urchins? Well, a wonderful pasta. Again, just put some garlic, olive oil, chili pepper, a little parsley in the end, and absolutely fresh sea urchins. Best if you're somewhere sailing on the Mediterranean and somebody gets those sea urchins for you. Now, very popular kind of pasta are stuffed ravioli. Ravioli, usually with ricotta cheese and spinach. Then you can put some tomato sauce on top if you wish. but very popular in central Italy, especially around Modena. There are ravioli di zucca, pumpkin ravioli, and then this is melted butter and sage. That's something that I can eat for primo, secondo, and dessert. Now, if not pasta, a primo could also be gnocchi, the potato dumplings, and just any recipe that you do with pasta, you could also very similarly do with potato dumplings that are for example, in Rome, they're done on Thursday, and spaghetti alle vongole on Friday, because that's the day of fasting, so something with fish. And if you are in Bologna, they will have tortellini in brodo, tortellini usually with meat in them. And if they're smaller, they are tortelline. This is Bologna, you see. On the left, tortelloni, big ones, and tortellini, the small ones, small variety. Oni, ini is how you actually indicate that something is either bigger or smaller. Dittalini, dittaloni are kind of pasta. Dittaloni, dittalini. Dittalini you put in the soup, which is a rare commodity in Italy. There are not many soups. In Tuscany, they have more soups. In Rome, it's about pasta. Then you have minestrone. I told my Italian friends the other day, don't have that many soups here. Oh, we do. Well, okay, which ones apart from minestrone? Pasta e ceci. Well, it's pasta again. Pasta and chickpeas. But in Tuscany, they have many more because they use more like beans and vegetables. And this is just one of the many pastas. I just wanted to show you how they respect the tradition. So lenta essiccazione means they dry it very slowly. Here it says up to 60 hours, low temperature. And so pasta should not be exposed to strong temperatures, high temperatures, because it crystallizes on the outside and it has to go through this because of the enzymes. And trafilata a bronzo means it was sieved through bronze molds because bronze makes pasta porous. And like that, it retains the sauce. It doesn't swim in the sauce ever, but it retains it in these little pores. And the grain has to be durum, which is the variety of hard wheat for which you need certain kinds of climate. So a lot of durum wheat is actually imported from the countries that have different climate, like Arizona, Ukraine, then Israel. So not so much wheat. I mean, it grows in Italy, but we are having this climate change that affects also the quality of the durum pasta. Now, you can buy it fresh at the markets and take it home, and a wonderful lunch is ready with some sauce. In Rome, artichokes are everywhere, even with the pasta, and then pecorino, obviously. It's ubiquitous. This is dinner with friends, so everybody was like, "Oh, let's try this pasta with artichokes." Ragu it's similar to bolognese. It's always minced meat with tomato sauce. So it could be pasta al ragu, very popular in Naples. They don't call it bolognese. And in Sicily, pasta alla norma, which was made in honor of Bellini's Norma. And it recalls the Etna volcano. You have black for petrified lava, red for molten lava, fresh, and then pecorino cheese for a bit of snow at the top of Etna. And it's really wonderful pasta alla norma. Then in northern Italy, or in the colder climate anyway, you'd have polenta. Polenta is maize flour, and this is in Venice with little octopuses and moscardini. And they also grill polenta, and this is a risotto with squid ink, which is used in cuisine to make risotto, pasta, and your teeth are all black. And this is typical Venetian cicchetti. Cicchetti they hate it when you call it tapas because they're cicchetti. They're slices of bread with all kinds of different, in Italy they would call it ben di Dio, all the God's goods. a lot of the baccalà, a lot of salt cod, and of course cheeses and salami, but cicchetti, they have cicchetterias. And then if you want a glass of wine with it, but then you don't get the glass, but plastic, because if you're outside, they don't want broken glass on the little fence by the canal. But if you're inside, of course, you'll get your wine in the real glass. And what you see here, what it looks strange is this, like the bottom of the artichoke. That's what they do there. With, like, for example, in Rome or anywhere else, I haven't seen the bottom of the artichoke. And this is basically Venetian food with at the bottom polenta with liver, liver Venetian style, and sarde al sal. Sarde, a variety of cheaper fish, and grilled white polenta, and then the cicchetti. Those are three most important things you have to taste in Venice. But if you go to Tuscany, again, there will be more veggies, more beans. This is ribollita, the soup that's boiled again the next day and served with stale bread, because the fresh bread is too mushy. And eat a lot of beans and a lot of veggies, I mentioned that. The leftovers, basically, ribollita are the leftovers. And this is the risotto with radicchio, so very popular, especially in the north, because the rice fields are in the north. Although, again, you can find it everywhere in Italy, but it's not typical. Now, this is secondi, the main courses meat. This is saltimbocca, typical for Roman cuisine. Saltimbocca literally jumps into your mouth. That's veal with prosciutto and the gravy sauce with sage. These are sweetbreads. I told you about the fifth quarter, the sweetbreads. You will not find them easily. If you come to Rome, I'll tell you where to go. Delicious. And they eat a lot of lamb in Rome. So that is, again, more from Rome than anywhere else, because this is where I live. So more photos of that. And coda alla vaccinara. This is typically Roman. Coda is the oxtail, and it's cooked in this tomato sauce with a lot of celery. But there is a similar dish called ossobuco, but that's Milan, in Milan. And tripe, you can find it in Tuscany as well. This is tripe alla romana, again, tomato sauce and pecorino. And in the northern, in Piedmont, in the north, you can find a vitello tonato, which is veal with sauce made with tuna and eggs and capers. Quite unusual, but you can, again, find it in the restaurant that have something to do with Piedmont, and or just simply like vitello tonato. And these are the meatballs that are present everywhere in different varieties. And of course, maialino, the little suckling pig with potatoes in the oven, delicious and popular everywhere. Again, if we go back north, there will be boiled meat, mixed boiled meat with, you see here, this fruit. It's mustard fruit. It's slightly pungent, and it goes so well with bollito, so different kinds of boiled meat. Again, so typical for the north. And baccalà, or salt cod, very popular with tomatoes, olives, and pine nuts. And these are broccoletti. Now I'll talk a little bit about contorni, side dishes. Broccoletti romani. It is a variety of cabbage, as you can tell, and served with these big Kalamata olives. Chicory with garlic and chili pepper. Typically Roman. Puntarelle. You cannot find puntarella anywhere. It's like a chard-like plant that you sieve through little razors, comes out curled, and then you serve it with garlic, anchovy, and balsamic vinegar. Puntarelle. And different kinds of cabbage can be prepared with capers with, again, pine nuts and raisins. Raisins are also quite popular. But most frequently in Italian restaurants, you will find the side dish like grilled vegetables. Although these are summer vegetables, the winter, they're just there because we are spoiled and we have greenhouses. But let's say that this is what you will find everywhere, just simple green vegetables. And you can ask the restaurant to bring you some olive oil with peperoncino, chili pepper, if you want it spicier, if you want to add it to your pasta or your vegetables. And olive oil has to be, as you see here, extra virgin. Extra virgin means cold pressed, and that's the best quality. That is then, when it's fresh in November, December, everybody wants to put a little bit of that fresh olive oil on their bruschetta, on the grilled slice of bread, even without anything else. You know, it's so good. Olives come in different varieties. Not all are good to make olive oil, but you can have them stuffed, put in the oven. Again, different varieties are used for different things. And aceto balsamico, balsamic vinegar from Modena, has to be from Modena, don't trust anybody else. With it, it's aged in barrels like wine, and these are not the most precious. The most precious, they're tiny, tiny bottles like that. They could cost up to like €100, aged between 25 and 50 years. And that balsamic vinegar is used on gelato, on roast meat. That's not like the salad thing. It's something that I always jokingly say, you take a little drop and you put it behind your ear. It's so precious, but it's absolutely delicious. Now the time has come for the dessert. There will be more, there will be street food and stuff. I still have a lot to show you. But let's say the lunch is over, you want a little tiramisu, which literally means lift me up. There's a little bit of coffee in it, and egg cream with a little cocoa and biscuits in it. Somebody likes it more creamy, more biscuity, but it does lift you up, definitely. And then panna cotta, cooked whipped cream with fruit or with chocolate. It's just absolutely delicious, typical for Rome, but tiramisu for all of Italy. And delizia al limone is actually a recent invention down in the Amalfi Coast, and you can't leave Amalfi without trying delizia al limone, delicious lemony delicious cake, because their lemons are something else. Down in the south near the volcanoes. And limoni, you see here to the left, it says limoni per limoncello non trattati. So not sprayed or treated, because they will be used for limoncello. And these big yellow things in the middle, these are cedri. It's a kind of variety that just grows there. So I don't know, I couldn't find a translation. But they also make this limoncello, has to be made in that part of Italy. And that is a digestive, to digest everything you had, and it works, definitely. And limoncello is not usually served with biscotti to dip. Cantuccini would be normally served with, in Tuscany, with vinsanto, which is a sweet dessert wine. But here, no, they served it, so we dipped. We didn't really care whether it was by the book. And another famous digestive is grappa. But grappa, it's not just the boring alcohol made of grapes, the skins, but it can also be aged. It could be riserva. So if grappa barricata, that's something like barrique. That's something else. It's not just a strong grappa. Or sgroppino, which is a variety of sorbetto made with lemon gelato and vodka and prosecco. What's not to like? Now, fruttini siciliani, a lot of marzipan, that's famous in Sicily. And they use a lot of marzipan. For example, this is cassata siciliana. There's a lot of Arabic influence in Sicily, because they had Arabs also for a while in the Middle Ages. A lot of wonderful Arabic influenced sweets. And these are peculiar Sicilian sweets. They're actually the breasts of Saint Agatha, who, poor thing, was the martyr, tortured by ancient Romans, and her breasts, well, became a cake. Delicious, by the way. And something that you can buy me with is zabaglione. Zabaglione is egg yolk, like eggnog, but egg yolk with sugar. What's not to like? You can add some marsala, like a sweet wine. And when the chestnuts are in season, when chestnuts come, they are the tree of the poor, albero dei poveri, albero del pane, albero of the bread, the tree where the bread grows. And this is very French influenced. There we go, the Mont Blanc, the cake, and also marron glacé that we have in Italy. That's very French. But in Tuscany, they make castagnaccio. They make a lot of things with chestnuts and also roasted chestnuts are all over the place in the winter months. Don't have them during the summer. They're just something artificial, not something, everything artificial about them. So have them just in the months when they're there, like November, for example. For Easter, you can go to Naples and have pastiera. Pastiera is with wheat and just absolutely delicious cake. Every period of the year has different traditional cakes. For example, now comes Easter. There's colomba, and there are different kinds of different brands of colomba. But if it's Christmas, then it's panettone. Panettone, everyone has his own variety. And or pandoro. Pandoro is another Christmas cake, and Italians always, are you pandoro? Are you panettone? I'm the panettone personally, and I have my brands that every year I tell myself, okay, it's December, buy yourself panettone, don't share it with anyone, you can have the whole thing. Not in one day, but I could, but no, I try not to do it all in one day. With raisins, and so it's typically, you won't find it around, very difficult to find it any other time of the year. It's a Christmas thing. Now, for a little sweet, you can have a tartufi, chocolate pralines, but tartufo is a mushroom that grows under the soil, and this is how it looks like if it's the summer one. And the white winter, November, does not grow everywhere, just Piedmont and Tuscany, and it's much more expensive and much more intense. This is a variety that's also expensive, but not so much. And it is used on different meals. It can be put on pasta, on omelette. You can use it for so many dishes. You can buy a little olive oil, little bottles with some truffles in them. They usually put essence, always read the ingredients. There has to be a little piece of tartufo in it, and they use dogs in Italy and pigs in in France to find the truffles, because the smell and the way they're trained, they find it even at night. They just smell it and find it, and then the truffle hunters dig it out. And you can also finish your lunch or dinner with a good piece of cheese. There's so many varieties. We have different climate, from the Alps down to the south, the cheeses cannot be the same. These are mainly northern cheeses, Toma di Capra, goat cheese, Gorgonzola, these are Taleggio. These are northern Italian cheeses. You see a lot of these aged cheeses, they're made in northern Italy towards the Alps. And I know that you may be waiting for wine, but I did not do much on wine. This is really good wines, they have to be open an hour or two before and decanted, but this is why not, because again, we may do a separate presentation on that. And tasting, I hope. So every region, different wines. Of course, the famous ones can cost up to, this is a sassicaia, famous sassicaia, €650, but there's no need to spend that money, obviously, for a good wine. I'll give you a little secret. If you like good red ones, then there is a variety that's made in the southern Italy that's called primitivo. That's easy, primitive. And it's always, good, full-bodied. You can't go wrong with primitivo. Never costs a lot in a restaurant. You can even have it for like €20. And that's a decent price for a restaurant bottle of wine. If you're going for a famous Tuscan Chianti, just beware the regular Chianti is a bit on acid side. So go for at least DOC of the origine controllata, of controlled origin, and or go for Riserva or Classico, at least Chianti Classico from certain regions of Tuscany, and then you'll have a more full-bodied experience. The house wine, ask if you go for house wine, it's better to know what you're getting. I mean, does this restaurant have good house wine? Because usually it has like more sulfates and it's more acid. Could be decent. It doesn't mean there's no 100% rule for that, but always be careful with house wines. And Cabernet Sauvignon, these are these international varieties that you're playing it safely, but Tuscan would be Sangiovese, or typical Piedmont, I call them all these bar. Piedmont, Barbaresco, Barolo, they're from Piedmont. They're also full-bodied, Nebbiolo as well, but they do have slightly, for me, acid note. There are a lot of, like in Sicily has a lot of sunshine. Down around Naples, precious, like Aglianico, for example, it's a bit angry. It has to be softened. Now, if you've heard probably about super Tuscans, they're very soft, but they were basically invented for foreign palates, because Italians wines are quite decisive, I would say. And if you have to soften them with some international varieties to obtain these super Tuscans, which are extremely pleasant, but they're not typical local wines. And then there are really good white wines in northern Italy, but they're like the German name. I love Gewürztraminer or Müller-Thurgau. Those are sweeter wines with the grapes that have remained more in the colder weather, and they have dried a little bit. And you can go for Vernaccia is a good one, or from Tuscany, if you don't like too sweet, drier. And like a Donna Fugata down in Naples. So there are the varieties, but always try to have something local. Why not? But you see, there's so much to say about wine, and I just wanted to mention it, but didn't go too much into it. And gelato, and some of you may be waiting for gelato. Gelato with big piles of gelato that's full of air, that's used, stuffed in it while during the churning. So it's usually covered or flat, and that's where you get the better variety of gelato with, again, less air in it. And the good thing is you can have it any time of the day. But sometimes Italians have like lunch with gelato. That's right. Or they use it to drown in coffee. This is caffè affogato. So you have coffee with a scoop of gelato, or spade. If it's a really good gelato, they use spade. And street food, I wanted to mention a few things like crocchette di patate, deep fried potato dumplings, or arancini. Arancini are Sicilian. But here you can see arancini cacio e pepe. Cacio e pepe, pecorino and pepper, that's Roman. So this is a Roman variety of Sicilian recipe. And in these street food places, you find these arancini. They're like Etna. Oh, okay, this is Sicilian. And also they can be also like oval. And in Naples and Sicily, they will fill it in with the ragu. and peas, and also prosciutto cotto, cooked prosciutto, and ham, and mozzarella. And in Rome, again, supli looks like arancino. It's all like fried rice balls, but usually with mozzarella and prosciutto. Remember the telefono, the telephone wire. You can also have these wonderful, usually like little pizzerias that sell pizza by the cut, by the slice. They have also these stuffed olives from Ascoli. They're stuffed with minced meat, and deep fried. Just a few, and then off you go. More sightseeing. Now, pizza by the slice, they say, was invented near Sorrento in a little town, and this is a very popular lunch snack, on the go. You tell the person at the counter how much you want of each one. You have to show. Okay, I want this much, that much. And then they cut it, they weigh it, and have different prices depending on the ingredients. And Roman pizza has this thin crust. And there are street markets. I do food tours, and we frequently go to this market, Testaccio, where there are wonderful kinds of pizza. So we choose different ones, and then okay, a little bit of this one, a little bit of that one, with all kinds of ingredients. If you would like something just slightly salty, however, not slightly, but salty, if in your Naples, you'll have taralli, just with cipolla, with cima di rapa, with all different ingredients, but taralli are typically Neapolitan. And in Naples also, they fry the leftover pastas. They make like little balls and they deep fry them. So, you don't throw away anything. And in Rome, they have this panini stand, panini sandwiches, or panini is plural of panino, which is a sandwich. And they stuff them with, again, these ingredients, which are the part of those leftover, remember, the fifth quarter, and delicious. But you can also have it with artichokes, doesn't have to be. And so this is how they do that. They cut, and sometimes they dip that panino in that sauce in the soup that came out with cooking of the meat, and they stuff it with whatever you show them, and for just about like 7-8 euro you can have a really, really delicious meal. And solo per pochi, just very few brave ones will have rognoncino di vitella e cipolla, which is veal kidney, and onions, cipolla. Panino is 5 euro, I've said 8 with drinks. And if you're on the go and you can't go to any of these markets and have a food tour, you can grab a tramezzino. Tramezzino is like a triangular bread without the crust, filled with all kinds of things that, salami, cheese, tuna. So that's typical little quick snack. And, things have not ended with the tradition. There are new inventions. There's this guy who invented this trappizzino. It's neither tramezzino nor pizza. Delicious, great idea. And we just like to go there for these, stuffed little trappizzini. So that's a new invention. I think he has a copyright on it. And time has come for an aperitivo. We're about maybe 10 more slides, just a few more minutes. So aperitivo, you will see all these people drinking this reddish stuff. It's Aperol Spritz. I prefer Campari. Spritz, Aperol is like a liquor made of oranges somehow, and with Prosecco and Spritz, like water, and usually with little snacks. Aperitivo, everybody will have a little Aperol or Campari Spritz, and that's not served in the restaurants. That's in the bars, in the cafes that serve aperitivo, and there are plenty all over. If you don't feel like alcohol, you can have, but it's tastes almost the same, if that's possible. It's crodino. Crodino, you can pass as somebody having Aperol, it looks the same. And now we're nearing the dinner time, and pizza a pranzo, pizza lunchtime is something very unusual. That's why the guy is advertising it. There's a reason for that. Of course, those slices of pizza, street food, we all do that. But pizza is an evening meal. And that's because it was baked in the ovens, and they had to be of certain very high temperature. In order to obtain that temperature, you had to burn the wood for a long time. And that wasn't done for lunch. So Italians will invite you for andiamo a prendere una pizza. That will be in the evening. And with just about anything. But if you come from US and expect pizza pepperoni, they will give you pizza with peppers if they have it, because pepperoni are peppers. So you have to look for salame picante, like spicy salami. This is mozzarella, tomatoes, the zucchini flowers, and anchovies. That's typical for Naples, but you can put just about anything. You see here, this was delicious pizza with different ingredients, were even some yellow tomatoes. There are all kinds of varieties of wonderful little tomatoes. In Naples, pizza has this higher crust on a rim, and it's much softer than in Rome, where it's thin and slightly burnt. I just like that, very crusty. And do not have a pizza unless you are in a pizzeria. Pizzeria is a kind of a restaurant, could be ristorante pizzeria or just pizzeria. If it's ristorante, restaurant pizzeria, it has more variety, more choice. And pizza has to be made in certain kinds of an oven. And the place to be called pizzeria has to have that kind of an oven. So don't have pizza because they're serving it. It's like pizza. Are you a pizzeria? Then I'll have pizza. Otherwise, don't, unless you're starving. You'll survive. And if you're still hungry, there is a lot of little biscotti just to nibble before going to sleep. Biscotto is a generic word. It's just a cookie. Biscotto is a cookie. And again, every village has its own biscotto. Every village has its own shape of pasta. Just so much variety, but you have to go from region to region. And in different regions, you will find local dishes, and always go for local, always ask for local. And I like these, like lingue di gatto. This is a cat's tongue. Lingue di gatto, thin, crunchy. And talking about specific local cookies, I bet you have never seen this. This is Miss Frascati. In a small town, Frascati, south of Rome, they have these ladies with, well, 3 breasts. So talking about local, yes, we have that too. And in Italy, there are also little cookies called brutti ma buoni. Ugly, but good. They are like little crunchy. They really don't look like much, but they're really good. And this is the country where even the ugly food, which is very rare, is really good. So come to Italy and we'll go taste some of that stuff.
Wow, Olga, I don't know about everybody, but I've been sitting here salivating for this last hour. Can't wait to get my dinner on the go. Sandra seems to, she was the first one with her comment, which was, this looks delicious. And all of it did. Somebody did say at the beginning, you mentioned that these are your pictures. So are you telling us you actually ate all this food that we saw tonight?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
I'm a foodie.
Yes,
and
but
also it's not like I go out every day. I mean, it's not like I can afford eating dinner and lunch and, and like that the whole year. But it took some years, obviously, to take these photos. Some I obviously took from the plates of my friends, but I work a lot out there. And not just I do food tours, but, with the clients, we have a private tour, we sit down for lunch, we have something. With my friends, and we meet each other. Already we are of that age when you don't go to, what do you do if you see friends? You go out for dinner. And I travel quite a lot. I used to work as a tour manager and different parts of Italy. And wherever you go, then you have this curiosity. to try something local. So I am a passionate foodie, and I do go around a lot. And with my work, I frequently find myself in different restaurants. Okay, let's go to a Tuscan one. Oh, okay, then let's order something that's typical for Tuscany. But it did take some time.